Subscribe for the latest and raw opinions of boxing. I know I fucked up in that line, but whatever. Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury. I believe that this fight is a little bit more competitive than the majority of the boxing public believe it is. And I know that I went around saying that I felt that Tyson Fury wasn't ready, and I still stick by this. I still wish that Tyson Fury would have had 2 more fights, like minimum, at least 2 more fights against guys that basically challenged him. Like, you know what would have been perfect if he would have gone, if in his next fight he were to fight a guy who has like an iron chin and who throws like I don't know, 80 punches around. Although I think that's impossible for a heavyweight to do, but you know what I'm saying. A guy who has an iron chin and throws 80 punches around and does this for 12 rounds against Tyson Fury. I would have loved to see Tyson Fury fight a guy like that, because that would have showed me where Tyson Fury is at, like really where Tyson Fury is at right now, because he would be having to fight in a high pace type of fight, and he would have to be forced to basically let his hands go to defend himself, and he would also have to be forced to depend on his reflexes, his movement. He would literally have to be in his toes the whole night against a guy like that who just, you know, but like I said, that would be good for him, and that would be good for us as boxing fans, because we could see where he's at, you know, with a fight like that. That being said, that's not going to happen. It seems like this fight will be made, which means Fury is going to be going into this fight with just 2 comeback fights, and he's going to have 3 months to prepare for Deontay Wilder. Now, when it comes to this fight, most people believe that Deontay Wilder is going to just knock him out. I've said this in the past, and I'll say it again. Deontay Wilder can be outboxed. This is not the Fury of 2015, but he still has his skill set. He still has his reflexes. Like, I still see his timing is still there, his reflexes. You see him jittering, you see him, you know, reacting to punches coming to him. Like, I saw times where Francisco Pianeta was attempting to throw a left hook, and you see Fury reacting to it and moving away from it. So that tells me he still has his reflexes, and he still could tell if he has to like duck a punch, right? So he knows how to do that, right? So it's still there. It's not like he's lost his reflexes and now, you know, he's a sitting duck for every little punch. When it comes to Wilder, I saw Artur Szpilka outbox Deontay Wilder. Artur Szpilka is no elite boxer. Alright, Artur Szpilka is known as the guy who got knocked out by his fellow countryman, that Polish guy. I already forgot his name. Oh wait, was it Adam? I think it's Adam something. But he got destroyed in like 3 rounds by that guy. Didn't win a single round. Prior to that, he was also known as the guy that got knocked out by Brian Jennings. Brian Jennings is not considered a big puncher, yet Brian Jennings walked down Artur Szpilka and basically stopped him and TKO'd him in, I believe, round 8, round 9. Yeah, and those weren't competitive fights. Brian Jennings dominated Artur Szpilka, just like that that Polish fighter dominated Artur Szpilka. Yet when Artur Szpilka fought Deontay Wilder, he was outboxing Deontay Wilder. Like I said, Artur Szpilka has never been considered a high-level boxer, yet he had the ability to outbox Wilder, to frustrate Wilder. Tyson Fury, on the other hand, is a high-level boxer. Why? Because I've seen him fight in the highest level of boxing. I saw him outbox Derek Chisora. I saw him outbox Vladimir Klitschko. That's why I consider him a high-level boxer. Okay, so I believe if someone like Artur Szpilka could do this to Deontay Wilder and actually steal rounds and win rounds against him, then of course 100% someone like Tyson Fury should be able to do the exact same thing. The only thing that concerns me of Fury is, of course, his inactivity and the fact that maybe he isn't prepared in terms of taking the ring rust off. That's why I would have loved to see him fight 2 more fights. But even this version of Fury, you know, even the Fury I saw last night against Francisco Pianeta, I think that version of Fury can still be tricky for Wilder, can still win some rounds. Like, I will not be surprised if you see Deontay Wilder losing some rounds. If you see Tyson Fury nicking some rounds against Deontay Wilder. If you see Wilder being, because, you know, a lot of people just think Wilder's just going to let his right hand go and catch him. And yes, that could be true. But Wilder, when he's in there with a guy who's technically better than him, you know what Tyson Fury needs to do? He needs to throw a jab in Wilder's face. Because when Wilder's in there with a guy who throws a jab and a consistent jab down the pipe to Wilder's face, Wilder does not tend to throw his hands a lot. You know, the problem with boxing fans is they seem to look at Deontay Wilder as if he is Mike Tyson. He doesn't fight nothing like Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was a guy who was a very chaotic type of fighter. He would come forward aggressively as hell and throw many hooks. Right? He would try to knock his opponent's head off. He was a guy who cut the ring off. That's an aggressive type of fighter, kind of like Gennady Golovkin. Although Gennady Golovkin just wasn't as fast as Tyson or as explosive, but that's how Tyson fought. Deontay Wilder doesn't fight like that. Deontay Wilder relies on, he's more of a sharpshooter, and he relies on straight punches. You never see Deontay Wilder coming forward throwing hooks, throwing 20, 80 punches around. Deontay Wilder only does that if he's in there with a guy who's an absolute bum. But 9 times out of 10, when he's in there with dudes, he's throwing straight punches down the pipe, because he knows if he throws, and he tries to catch his opponent. Like, he likes to play chess with his opponent. But I notice about Wilder, when he's in there with a guy who throws a jab, he tends to really, his punching output tends to drop dramatically, because he's intimidated. And even his right hand, throwing his right hand, he doesn't throw his right hand, and he waits a lot. And this is why he gives away rounds, because again, go look at Gerald Washington. Washington was feinting a lot, and he was throwing a jab right down the pipe against Wilder. And look at how Wilder was, he looked intimidated in there. He looked like he wasn't letting his hands go, because he knew that if he tried to let his right hand go, he'll leave himself open for a Washington counter. And so he was being very timid. This is why I think it's important for Tyson Fury to throw a jab in Wilder's face and to feint. And I think he has the skill set to do this. This is why I wouldn't be surprised that if he won. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it's round 5 and all of us are looking at that fight and it's round 5 and we're thinking to ourselves, wow, if Tyson Fury keeps this up, he might just be the next WBC heavyweight champion of the world, because I gave him the first 5 rounds and I only give Deontay Wilder 2 rounds. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. This will be a case, I wouldn't be shocked if, like I said, Deontay Wilder is losing the fight via rounds. If I'm Tyson Fury, it might be a case where he's winning the rounds, he's winning the fights. You're thinking to yourself, he's winning the fight, but then he gets caught with a Deontay Wilder right hand. This is going to be the game changer, because if he gets caught with a Wilder right hand, I easily see him getting hurt, getting dropped. Tyson Fury has heart, so he'll try it and, go for broke. But then by doing that, he'll leave himself open. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if it's round 8. If it's round 8, round 9, Tyson Fury's up by 3 points. We're thinking to ourselves, wow, Fury's winning. Wilder lands his signature game changer, the right hand. Catches Fury right in the chin. Fury then does a little dance, and he's hurt. He's visibly hurt. But, he's laughing, he's smiling. And then Wilder does what he always does. He goes crazy. He goes in on Fury, and he starts throwing uppercuts. He starts throwing right hand. And then he catches Fury again, and then he drops Fury. Fury gets up, because Fury is a guy who has, very proud type of fighter. He has a lot of heart. He gets up, and he tries to, all right, he doesn't. And this time he doesn't try to survive. He tries to go for broke. And then he leaves himself open to getting dropped again. And then he gets up, but then he's on wobbly legs, and the referee waves it off, and it's a TKO. I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happened. But I think this fight's more competitive than people think. Even though Fury, I don't think he's still in the best version he could possibly be of himself. I still think he has the boxing skills, and because he's a more talented fighter than Deontay Wilder. These are facts. Even at this version of Fury, he's more talented. I still think he has the ability to outbox and win and steal some rounds against Deontay Wilder. There's something, one thing I've learned in boxing is styles make fights. This is very crucial, in my opinion. Styles make fights. And Deontay Wilder always has trouble with boxers. Even Luis Ortiz was winning rounds against Deontay Wilder, and Luis Ortiz is 10 years older. Think about this for a second. Luis Ortiz is 10 years older than Tyson Fury. He might be more, because people say he's like in 47, so he might be even 18 years older. Yeah, he was able to win rounds against Deontay. He was dominating the fight against Deontay Wilder. Why? Because even though he was much older than Wilder, he had the skill set to do it. The same thing happened with Gerald Washington. Gerald Washington is like 5 years older than Deontay Wilder, but he had the skill set that was better than Wilder's technique, so he was able to beat him. Win some rounds against him. So this is why, the good thing about Fury is he's not, like Gerald Washington or Luis Ortiz. He's still in his prime. He just turned 30. He just has been inactive. So this is why I'm not gonna be surprised. I think people just think that because Fury's been inactive, he's just gonna get blown out of there in 2 rounds. I don't think this is gonna happen. I think it's more competitive. I think this is more competitive than people think, for the simple fact that Tyson Fury is still in his prime. He's only 30 years old, and Tyson Fury is a better boxer than Deontay Wilder. Even this version of Tyson Fury is a better boxer than Deontay Wilder. And it doesn't really matter that, Tyson Fury is not a puncher, and he's never been a puncher, yet his skill set is what makes him able to win. When Tyson Fury dominated Vladimir Klitschko, and Tyson Fury wasn't a puncher, yeah, Vladimir Klitschko was too intimidated to go to Tyson Fury. Gerald Washington wasn't a puncher, yet look at how intimidated Deontay Wilder was to exchange in the first 5 rounds because of the fact that he was being countered. Artur Spilka wasn't a puncher. Yeah, look at how intimidated he was, trying to and frustrated he was. And even though Artur Spilka was a cruiserweight coming up to heavyweight and he wasn't a puncher, his skill set is what made him go 9 rounds. So this is why I'm not saying Fury's gonna win. I'm not saying he's gonna win at all. Don't get it twisted, homie. I'm not saying Fury's gonna win. But what I'm saying is this: I won't be surprised if he wins a few rounds. I won't be surprised.